So an AJAC apprenticeship is, it's a really a good opportunity to earn a living wage while you're learning. That term is kind of out there, earn while you learn. But that's exactly it. You have a normal job, learning skill, picking up on the job, where a huge percentage of your training is just on the shop floor with journey level guys and gals who are experts in their trade. And then a little portion of it is going to school and getting that book work. And so it was a really good opportunity for me when I started my apprenticeship to not only be able to take care of myself and my family, but continue to grow in the trade and learn as I worked. So I got to start my apprenticeship up at a small mom and pop shop in Redmond called Tooling 2000. And so at the time, I had my only schooling I had in terms of machining was a 2-quarter program that I spent at Bates Technical, which was their operators course. And it was really just a real baseline of how to work safely in the shop, how to operate some of the baseline equipment. But I still had a ton to learn when I left that program. So really thinking back to why I started the apprenticeship and where I got started was I just needed to continue to learn and grow from where I was at so I could be successful. And so, like I said, Tooling 2000 gave me an opportunity to come in as a CNC operator. Came in there, was able to work really closely with a journey level guy with over 30 years in his career, and just really had the opportunity to gain my skill and learn. I got to a point at that company where I was just an operator and kind of reached my max potential there. And so one of the cool things that AJAC offered me was the ability to send my resume out and move to another company that could offer me more. And so after about a year and a half at Tooling 2000, I was able to move to another company and given more responsibility and continue to grow. Yeah, so getting enrolled, I was really just looking for next level. I remember I had finished my Bates program in summer quarter of 2012, and I got my foot in the door at a company. And really, once I did that, this is outside of the apprenticeship. Once I did that, I was just like, well, I'm kind of in over my head. I need to continue to learn, and I wasn't really sure at the moment how I was going to do that. So I started looking into further opportunities for my education. I knew I didn't want to go back to school and get any further in debt, paying just out of my pocket. So I was looking at other ways, and apprenticeship was one of those ping words that popped up in Google. And so I looked into opportunities around the Puget Sound. AJAC had already been doing incredible work in the area, getting people jobs and opportunities, and so I reached out. I remember speaking to Roger Peters, who I'm still connected with now here, close to almost 10 years later now, and he gave me I sent him my resume. He did a lot of the hard work by putting my resume out there to partner employers that work with AJAC, and I had a few options to pick from until I found the right company, and it was the best decision of my life. Yeah, so I enrolled right away in the General Machinist apprenticeship program. I had gone to Base Technical for machining, and at the time, one of my goals, without being as knowledgeable in the trade yet or the industry at the time, I was like, I want to be at Boeing. I didn't know what I was going to do at Boeing. Actually, before I even went to school at Base, I didn't even know what a machinist was. Like, I had heard the term. I knew they worked at Boeing. I knew they made a nice clip. And so that was really my main goal. How can I get an opportunity without going any further in debt and be able to make a decent amount for my family? And so that was one of the driving forces right there. And so I got into the General Machinist apprenticeship. And then as I learned and grew, I kind of realized, hey, maybe Boeing isn't where I want to be at the moment. And you learn that the industry is so massive and there's so many different routes, and it's a huge web from a beginning of your education of the different routes that you can go. And that is one of the main things that really stood out to me about learning this craft, is that there's so many different things I can make and do. And so that's kind of one of the things that really kept me going. Right away, one of the major impacts with that and learning about that was to see these lead men and women in these shops, these supervisors in the shop that I was working at, and learning their story and finding out that a lot of them, either started off, we talked about starting as an operator, but even below that, or not below, but another entry-level job before that is even sweeping the shop floor, where a lot of these people started at and then worked their way up. From deburr, where you're cleaning up parts, you're starting at that level. And then when you see that these individuals are in these positions of responsibility and power, and you hear that they just, with no education, really just showed up every day and continued to grind away and then made it to that point. When you hear that, then it gives you immense confidence in your ability to do that same thing. Yeah, so one thing that really stands out to me, and I tell this story constantly, were just the math skills involved, not just with the math that's being done on the job day to day, but also the math classes that you're able to take for your RSI or your supported learning, from algebra to trigonometry. These are all classes that you were able to take and grow from. Myself, I never thought that I was ever a math individual. I always thought I struggled through it in high school growing up. I was one of those kids that, I was like, hey, when am I ever gonna need to, do this and do that? And Pythagorean theorem, why, right? Like, so I was one of those kids until you get into career and you learn that this type of stuff, this type of math is being done every day without you even knowing it. And so now I'm happy and proud to say that, I feel confident in my math skills. So math off top was something I was really proud of. Secondly, we want to talk about the difference between soft skills and hard skills, right? Soft skills being your ability to show up to work on time, to realize what it's like to be professional in a workplace, to understand what it's like to communicate with individuals who maybe have a lot more experience than you, how to get information out of them, how to be a good apprentice, to be able to take in information, to not be a know-it-all, and to understand that you're at the bottom and figure out the right ways to learn. So some of those soft skills that you learn that help you keep the job. And then those hard skills where, it's really the hands-on skills that you're learning and growing with. And I remember feeling that being so brand new and being so, how can I put this, just blown away by everything that was in the shop and feeling like it was too much for me. But then the apprenticeship model, little short increments of learning and growing. And so that's what really just, made it, really, really easy and cool for me, is because I could focus on, here, I'm learning this. All right, I've now put that into my toolbox and I learn more and continue. So it wasn't as overwhelming. And then, you look at yourself 4 years later and it's like, wow, like I've really accomplished all that. So a lot of what we do is precision measurement, working with numbers and sizes of parts. A lot of the responsibility of a machinist is not only to create the part, but also do some inspection on a part. So being able to understand dimensioning and working with numbers. Also, when you're on the machine and you're inputting information into the machine, there's a huge difference between typing in 1.0 and 0.001, right? That's only a 2 decimal place difference, and that can easily be screwed up if you're not paying attention to your numbers and really focusing on that. And so those are just a couple examples of some things that you get to do with numbers and adding and subtracting. It's not always real intensive hard math. Sometimes it's just a lot of adding and subtracting, multiplying, just quick stuff that you're able to do on the job. You could be in trouble. You can be in trouble. You could crash your machine. A lot of these machines are very expensive, more than what you would make in a year at your job working as a machinist. So it's a lot of responsibility, you know. And I don't say that to scare you, but I say that so that you're just aware of how important it is to really just focus on what you're doing, and don't skip any steps. And really, you know, I was the king of double checking numbers 4, 5, 6 times constantly. Why? Because I knew that if I understood what I was doing and I got it right, I wouldn't encounter some of these problems that can come up. Confidence and the ability for that to be built in apprenticeship. I remember being very nervous, very scared that when even before I started my apprenticeship, when I graduated my 2 quarters of tech school, I remember being nervous that I would get into a company would throw me on $1 million machine with a $50,000 part, and they would say, make it. I was really scared about that and having the skill to do that. When I got into the apprenticeship, I realized that these companies want to save their tail too. They're not going to throw somebody on a job like that without knowing that they can complete it and do it well. And so it's really just small, slow steps. You might start off, you know, checking parts, you know, with some calipers or a mic checking parts. Then you might get on a machine doing something very simple, a production job where it's really difficult to mess up. And then you just grow through that process. Another thing that I think maybe people don't understand about apprenticeship is companies understand that you're green. They understand that you're new to the industry. And so they have also, just like you've signed a contract to put in your time and do your schoolwork, the company has also signed a contract to help you grow and invest in you. And so you need to realize that companies, they want you to grow and they want you to learn, and they're not going to do anything to hinder that. I remember as a kid and being in high school, not really being able to focus on what I thought that next step was. And I didn't learn until I got into the trade that I am actually a visual learner. And so when I got to watch somebody do a job, and then I repeated them, and then they come back to me and they say, okay, hey, why don't you try it this way? And there's those checks, and then I'm repeating what they're doing. That was everything for my learning. And that's why I've been able to be successful, because I found a career that matched my style of learning. And I also realized that there are a lot of people out there that are just like me, who learn the exact same way, and they may be lost the same way that I was. Apprenticeship and machining offered me an ability to take care of my family and provide for them, which is something that I was looking for in my mid-20s. And I also know that the industry is just not as well known as it should be. There's still a lot of emphasis on college or bust, or 4-year university or bust, when that's not the way it always has to be. We've heard talk about the skills gap, and it's true. We have a lot of individuals who are in their 50s, 60s right now who are headed out the door, and there's not enough of us, individuals like us, ready to fill those roles. And so I want nothing more. I'm currently a high school CTE teacher, where I get to teach machining and fabrication. And I want nothing more than to be able to pass the same successes that I was able to obtain on to the next generation, and on to my students who are looking for the same opportunities I was. Yeah, so I mean, I'm currently an educator. I never planned on being a high school teacher or an educator, but the apprenticeship allowed me to discover that and took me in that direction. And I now feel like I'm doing exactly what I was meant to do here. And so it really, and also I just being in the industry and talking to people and learning and being interested in what I was learning has just opened so many doors and allowed me to find out about, you know, whether it's programming or you go into quality and inspection, or if you know you want to go into leadership or management. There's just so many different routes, and so that had a lot to do with me staying excited about the industry. In terms of skill sets or that would be shared, I really think a lot of people that are in our industry are drawn to the fact that we're craftsmen. We're just craftsmen, right? It's not you know, nowadays you can buy a lot of things, right? Anything that you need, you can buy. And we think about old school mentality where everybody was, you know, I think way back to right, a cobbler was making shoes, or a blacksmith was doing something with metals for you, or a baker. All these different specialized roles that people needed, and so there's not a lot of that. You can go to the store and get things, right? And so the fact that I could go back out there, right, and put together pretty much anything that I need, and it can be from me. I crafted it. No one else has something the exact same. It's mine. I think that's an incredible feeling. Yeah, so there's a ton of opportunities out right now for you to learn on your own. COVID has obviously put a lot of obstacles in our way for a lot of different things, but it's also offered a lot of doors, right? Because now we're virtual for the most part. A lot of people are working from home or doing things online. And so companies understand and know that. I can speak to a couple that I've just recently come across. If you're interested in welding or gaining welding skill, Miller Welding actually has a free online curriculum. So you're able to go onto Miller's website and do a whole full curriculum on welding. Yeah, you can't get the hands-on skill, but a lot of that book knowledge that you need in order to be successful in welding is available. There's also a lot of different programs that are popping up. There's a program called OpenX Education, where they have online programs where you can learn programming robotics, which is a new wave. You can learn about additive manufacturing, 3D printing, which is one of the new waves of manufacturing. If you want to think about CNC operation and machining, Titans of CNC, Titan Gilroy, down in California, they have a free online academy to teach you how to machine and at least get the visual knowledge. And this may sound so cliche, but it's true. YouTube, so many people on YouTube, so many people that are running shops are posting what they're doing, what they're working on. It's just a way for you to wrap your mind or your brain around what's going on in the industry right now. And then last but not least, one thing that I've been very successful in so far is just starting a LinkedIn program and just or a LinkedIn profile and just connecting with whoever it is you want to. You would be surprised the amount of people where if you just send a message, hey, I'm interested in doing what you do. Can you tell me more? The amount of people that would be excited to hear that and just send you gobs of information for you to grow and learn. And we're in a place right now. We want to talk again about the skills gap. Companies are looking for people, right? A lot of companies are willing to train. If you walk into a company with those soft skills, right? The ability to interview, the ability to talk about some of the at-home projects you've done, a lot of these companies might be willing to get your foot in the door and give you an opportunity. So I think there's a definite path to getting in. It's not as difficult as it may seem. I would rather, you know, if I'm not a business owner, but if I was running a shop, I would rather have good people in my shop with little skill set because I could always teach them. instead of having a bunch of individuals with a ton of skill and they're not going to be good employees for me. And I would imagine a lot of business owners would think the same thing. We do this deal called Industry Friday, where I'll have a visitor from industry come and talk about, you know, how they got their start, what they're currently doing in their career. We spoke with a welder today actually, and he talked about how he got his start. He said he had done a couple TIG welds in the garage with dad when he was a kid, but besides that, he didn't have any welding experience. He walked into a shop, said, "Hey, I want to get into welding." They vibed with him and they gave him a job, and he got his foot in the door, and you know, now he's transitioning into running his own welding business. So that's a real story of, you know, someone doing that. And you know, part of it is just putting yourself out there. Another example, when I was at a company, I was not ready to leave this company, but one thing that I did to try and up my skills is I was always apply for other machinist roles. Go interview, go see what another shop's like, go see what another shop looks like, what they're doing in there, who works there. And then not only is this helping you develop your interviewing skills, but if you get some offers, now you know you have backup plans, right? We're in an industry of hills and valleys where things are really good. Right now we're in a little bit of a valley, right? And so for you to have some of those backup plans, if for some reason you were to let go, you know, that's a lot, some things that a lot of people don't have. You know, I'd start off with, it was the best decision that I ever have made. It has changed my life completely. It has sent my life in a different direction that I never knew that I was capable of. I was at a point in my early 20s where I was having a good time, and I was in a bit of denial, thinking about what my next step was, because I didn't know. When I say that apprenticeship and AJAC saved my life, that's not that, I don't say that lightly. It sent me in a direction where I feel like I'm a success. I have other people that tell me I'm successful, you know, and that's not to try and pat myself on the back. That's giving thanks to the individuals that helped me get my start. I would also tell an individual that you'll be proud of some of the work that you're going to learn and do. I remember a time where I remember telling myself, you know, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know why I don't know as much as the next guy. Does that come so easy to him and I can't understand it? But there's a time where you hit that hump and you get over that hump, and the feeling is absolutely incredible. And you know, I can even recall finishing my apprenticeship, you know, walking there at the Museum of Fight and graduating. I never felt anything like that ever in my life. It was the ultimate stamp of approval. And to have those feelings, nobody can take that away from you. And in the position that I'm in now, I'm trying to give other people those same feelings because it felt so incredible to me. It can be really tough to either make a career change or to take that jump and go into something that you're not as sure about. It can be incredibly difficult. I remember having those same fears. But one of the cool parts, if you take that leap and you deal with that fear, once you get out of that and you find the light, you know, as they may say, the light at the end of the tunnel, it's an irreplaceable feeling. And I want you guys to experience that for sure.